Well, as you can tell from the title, yes, we are having our third baby. What a blessing it is. I'm so happy to be able to finally share that with you all. It's been hard to kind of keep going and not be able to share this really exciting news. I'm around 11 weeks now, but I found out more when I was maybe a little over 3 weeks. I think each time you have a baby, you get a little bit better at telling the signs because everyone's a little bit unique. For me, it's car sickness. I'm usually car sick. I can get easily car sick, but it is like every time if I'm not driving, I'll get car sick when I'm pregnant. So that was the tale. My husband was driving and I was like, oh, every time I don't feel well. And then that's how I knew with my second too. We were going up to Charlottesville and I was like, I've got to drive. Like I can't do this, but at least it tipped me off to not enjoy too much wine at the wineries. So that's how I knew this time. And then like that Saturday, a few days later, we were having a glass of wine on Saturday and I was like, this is absolutely horrible. I couldn't even stomach it, and I'm never usually like that. Like wine's usually not that bad where I can't even drink it. And both me and my husband, like we looked at each other and was like, you're pregnant. And we're like, oh man, I don't know. I didn't have an early pregnancy test though, so I just kind of waited in like hopeful anticipation for a few days. And indeed, those two beautiful lines did pop up. It was a bit of a surprise for us. It's not something we're really actively planning for, but you know, praise the Lord because there's nothing better than another baby. I do feel like this is a bit of a miracle because while I was ready for a third, my husband was not. He was very much satisfied with the size of our family as it is now and did not want to grow it. And I was also a little bit not pushing hard for it because I was scared of the energy that it would take for me to do it. It's like, was I ready to go through this all over again and be exhausted? And all the things that come with it. Even though I know I wanted one and I know they're a blessing, it is indeed hard to do it, right? So I started praying about it, praying that either, you know, God would change my husband's mind or mine and do what was right for our family and whatever his plan really is for us. And whenever this thought would creep in my mind, I just kind of bring it back to him and kind of just gradually let it go. You know, of course I would think about it, but not as much as what I was when we were kind of trying to decide what was best. And only a few months later to see those two blue lines pop up, I was so surprised. We've been trying with every one of our other two babies, so it just felt a little surreal for it to happen as a surprise, especially given our situation. You know, some prayers take longer to answer, many prayers are still unanswered, but some show up quickly, and that's just the way God works. My husband did think I was pranking him. I kind of kept it a secret to myself the whole entire day. I don't know, I just needed to absorb it and let it sink in and like almost like treasure it myself, this beautiful miracle that has happened, you know, and that then go tell my husband, and because I also kind of had to prepare for that, but he totally thought I was joking. Of course he is happy now and is so ready for it, and that's just the way God works. It's, you know, an answered prayer, so praise him. Now, as far as this first trimester has gone, I'm not really someone that throws up a lot. I think during my last two pregnancies, I threw up maybe once with each of my boys, so I know I do not have it bad compared to most, but I have really struggled this time with exhaustion. I almost like my nausea is like, I have it and it's kind of constant throughout the day, but my exhaustion and just general lack of motivation to do anything is like super high. So I would say I'm more fatigued, unmotivated. That's higher than the nausea, even though both are there, but I almost struggle more with the fatigue more than anything. And I am a little bit older, so I know it takes more out of me. With my last two babies, I started feeling sick maybe around the 6 or 7 week mark. It was definitely like later, and this time it showed up like full force around 5 weeks, which I was really surprised by. I wanted this time to be a little bit more prepared for what I knew would be coming for the next like month to 2 months. I wanted to make a few freezer meals. I wanted to give the house a good clean. I wanted to just get on top of a few chores that, you know, I just knew I wouldn't have the energy to do. But, you know, I got a few of those things done, not nearly what I had planned, but, you know, that's life. That's generally how it goes. And now that I'm around 11 weeks, I have a few days where I feel a little better. thankfully, like I start to feel myself returning. I think it's also just been harder with the exhaustion and fatigue this time because I've got two little ones running around, and that's just, the more you've got to manage, the less you have time to rest. And I think I've been able to rest a lot more in my other pregnancies, but I'm almost making it through and I see the light at the end of the tunnel. The first thing I did, of course, was order vitamins, because usually I've been planning to get pregnant, so I was already taking them, but I had to like hurry up and get that. I just kind of try to get most that I need from my diet, but it's hard in the first trimester, and this just gives me peace of mind. You always hear about folate, which is important, but also choline has become more and more like emerged as an important vitamin to also get. You can get that with 3 eggs a day, which I usually get at least 2 every day, but it's a good thing to keep in mind. And also omega-3, I've always taken those in my pregnancies. It helps with brain and eye development, and I have a hard time, especially in the first trimester, getting any of that in. Maybe a few nuts here and there, but that's about it. Like, we're not eating fish or any of that, so I always take those as well. For the prenatal, I just ended up quickly ordering Needed because I knew they were a good brand. I'd used them before and could trust them, but I think next time I'm also gonna, when I run out, buy this new brand called Bloom. I'm excited to share. It seems like the source ingredients might be a little bit better, so I'm gonna try those out. And I'm also, newly this time, I'm gonna take some prebiotics. It's supposed to help with heartburn and gut, which obviously, like that, I feel like both heartburn and your gut get a little out of whack first when you get pregnant. So I'm trying to take those. Can't really tell if it's making a difference. It's also supposed to help with nausea, which this time my nausea has been better. I don't know if it's because of that or a lot of other things that I'm going to talk about here in a little bit that I've been doing to help, but it's supposed to help with like better microbiomes, which should help your nausea. And the other thing that really stood out for me with these is my children have always developed eczema when they've been around 2 months old. It usually goes away when they near around the 2-year mark, and who knows what causes it, but this maybe helps babies with eczema. There is some data to say that, so I think it's at least worth trying to see if it helps this time. Fingers crossed. I thought I'd share just a few things that have really helped me manage my nausea a lot better this time, because I think the combination of things has really helped me get through. And the first thing is to eat first thing in the morning. Eating is the last thing I feel like doing in the morning. I just want to lay there in bed and do nothing and just lay there forever, but I know I need to get something in my stomach quick. So like I'll reach over, I'll grab some crackers that I keep there, and I'll put them in my mouth and I'll eat, maybe 2 or 3 before I even open my eyes. Again, not what I want to do, but I know it's what I need to do. And then as soon as I can muster myself to get up, I get the kids up, I wash my face, I go downstairs, I start making breakfast immediately. There's no morning routine, there's no getting dressed, there's no brushing my teeth, there's no devotionals. It's, a very different morning routine, but that's okay. It only lasts for a few months, right? If that. So that's what we've been doing. I'll snack on some berries while I'm making breakfast, and I've just been making the same exact thing every day. It makes it easy, and honestly, my kids are usually hungry in the morning too, so they're not so picky. We eat toasted sourdough, and some weeks I've had to buy bread because that's just how it is. You got to be easy on yourself, but some sort of toasted bread. I love it when sourdough with some over easy eggs and a few berries. I've been able to stomach that nearly every morning without problem, thankfully, because it gives me a little bit of protein, fats, some carbs. I'm fueling myself, which is so important to nausea, even though you don't want to. It's really so important. Plus you're getting the choline and the eggs in as well. The second critical one is lemonade. It helps me so much with morning sickness and nausea. I follow someone on Instagram that had a really sad story about having, I can't remember what that condition's called when you kind of throw up throughout your whole pregnancy, and she ended up taking the medication for that. She ended up losing her baby, and so much ago, I think late in pregnancy, and like devastating, right? But then she got pregnant again a few years later and was very determined to do it differently. And I remember her saying, just like randomly following her, that lemonade and moving early in the morning helped her. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try to do those things. There has been links that like moving and staying in movement, which I think is also critical. If you can, just some movement, like just walking, will detoxify, help with your liver which helps detoxify, which helps with nausea. Now, I'm no expert, but these are just clues that people have said. So whenever I can move or get out for a walk, I've always been trying, even though it's very hard. But the thing about lemonade really stuck with me. So I've been making a fresh batch every week. I sweeten it slightly with some honey or some maple syrup. And, you know, I just sip on that whenever I'm like really struggling. And that tends to be more in the evening. I'm kind of sick all day long, but as the dinner time starts to creep up on me, I'm getting way worse. And I think it's because I'm just exhausted. So the fatigue and the nausea then kind of hits like a huge wave at that point. And it'll change throughout the months, but that generally is always a time I struggle with. So I'll like sip on some lemonade then, or like maybe after lunch when I have a hard time, and it just helps so much. I feel just a little bit better. Now, it doesn't like magically make any of these symptoms disappear. It's more making them manageable and not as severe. I wish we had some like magic pill. I guess that pill maybe is, but none of these are going to magically make anything go away, but they will help you manage, and the lemonade has helped me so much this time around. Again, not what I want to do, but what I need to do is eating every 2 to 3 hours. I've always known this. I think this is a very common tip given, but it's just so hard to change your habits. And I had always struggled in my last 2 pregnancies to take the time to do this. And this time around, I've been very strict about it. Usually every 2 to 3 hours I'll eat, and if I ever feel the slightest bit hungry, I go get something to eat immediately. I'm not waiting. I'm not going to wait till this meeting's over or what I'm doing is over. No, I'm going to go get a snack immediately, and it has helped me so much. It also helps that my kids have 2 snacks a day, so that kind of like evens out to like 2 to 3 hours, eating every 2 to 3 hours, right? So whenever they have a snack, I know I need to eat something too, and usually I just eat the same thing they're having, like a little cereal, milk, a little yogurt, some fruit. It kind of depends on what my cravings are. Personally, I crave not like sweet things in the early trimester. I want like savory pickles, cheese, queso dip, you know, like I've been loving these pickled chips, like not really healthy things like buffalo chicken. Like that's the type of stuff I want, which isn't, I mean, I like this stuff normally, but it's not really what I crave, but that's really what makes me feel better, which is thankful. Like at least I can eat some chicken, you know, so it's not the worst thing in the world. But I just try to eat something when they're eating it, and that has helped me stick to this. And I find that, you know, I eat smaller meals because I can't eat that much. I'm just eating more of them. So I'm probably still eating the same or less. It's just being spread out throughout the day. And that way I'm kind of keeping my energy levels up, my calorie intake up, because once you go down a decline, either of eating unhealthy, really unhealthy, or like not eating at all, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And I think these 3 things have really helped me keep the nausea at bay, because again, the hardest part this time has been fatigue. And you know, what helps there is rest. So I've been trying to rest as much as possible, but that's harder, I think, than eating more frequently. And the hardest one of all for me might be to prioritize sleep above all else. I already get a good amount of sleep like on my normal day because I know it's important, but when you're that first trimester, I just feel like you need so much sleep. I'm constantly exhausted at least, and I really need to prioritize it. So I quickly learned that I just could not do what I needed to do and what I normally do throughout the day. I had to start taking a quick like 30-minute nap in the middle of the day, or I wasn't making it through the day. And then in bed by 9 or 9:30 every night. There's no cleaning, there's no doing any cooking from scratch like I normally do in the evenings. There's no editing videos or date nights or all these things that I love during this, you know, kind of like 1 to 2 hours of alone time, but it's just not the season for it. I had to quickly learn, get to bed. And even in the thick of it, I would like put the kids to bed, and I like had to just go pass out for like an hour and a half. I would wake up what felt like the middle of the night at like 10 o'clock and stumble into the shower and then get back to bed. And, you know, that's just a season you go through. I had to keep reminding myself that, you know, you can't do it all, and what you're doing now is so important, and this baby is so worth it. But did I feel like the house was crumbling around me? 100%. And did I hate it? Yes. It doesn't change my feelings towards it, even though I accepted it. It's so hard to just let go of these things, and I almost felt like I was losing myself a little bit too. Like cooking from scratch is like a hobby that I really love, and we had to rely on very quick and easy meals, and we had to have takeout some nights. Like that's just part of the process, but it's also a hobby that I love. So in a way, I almost feel a little bit lost, like with not being able to do these things that I generally really enjoy. But thankfully, like now I'm starting to feel myself get a little bit more energy where I can make the bread and I can stay up a little bit late, maybe just to do some stretch and folds and manage to get out of bed to do those. And I'm so thankful because now I'm starting to feel like myself again. And I don't know, I just think these hobbies and things that we do, I don't know, it like fills my cup. So I'm just so thankful to have them back again, because just laying in bed is really hard, and especially when you're not feeling well. So that's why you've not been seeing as many cooking videos, and I've been doing a little bit of other content about lifestyle that's just a little easy to just talk about and just fit in very quickly. But I can't wait to get back in the kitchen soon and be doing a lot more cooking videos and cooking for my family. Another key thing to help with fatigue and exhaustion is protein. Again, not what you want or want to stomach. And I'm not saying you need to like bite a big piece of chicken or anything, but I just try to make sure I'm getting a little bit of protein in each meals and not just eating empty food, you know, like Greek yogurt sweetened with a little honey, a few nuts here and there, making sure it's whole wheat bread with a little bit of fiber and protein in it. So not like really high protein, but just getting a little bit of protein throughout the day and not relying on something like a muffin, because again, that slippery slope, like once you go down it, it is so hard to climb back out of it. And I recently, and this is more for later in pregnancy, but I watched I think it's the Diary of the CEO. I really love him. And he had a doctor on talking about the epigenetics of how what a mother eats while the baby's in the womb will affect the child. And how if you don't eat a lot of protein, that then the child will think they're like almost not growing up in a world with a lot of protein and will not like to eat as much protein, which I think is a wild, like, I don't know, I haven't verified this, but I just thought it was a wild concept and probably has some truth to it in terms of biology, right? And it's the same with sugar. If you eat a lot of sugar, it's kind of like going to affect the epigenetics of the child to like more sugar. So it's just something like, of course, not critical in the first trimester, but now going into the second and third trimester, I'm starting to think a lot more about that, because I tend to love sugary things when I get towards the more like third trimester, and just going to try to swap it more with protein this time. Another thing, if you find out early, try to prepare, like I mentioned before, in any way best that works for you. To me, my biggest priority was freezer meals, because I know dinner time is my most hard period of the day, and if I could have some freezer meals stashed away, that would help me so much. We all know this postpartum, but it's so important also for the first trimester. So I tried to focus on a few like very high protein things like meatballs and all this. I'll be sharing with you soon. I can't wait. I did manage to film most of it and stash that away in the freezer. And that way, at least I could try to eat some protein if, you know, I could eat a few bites of it. And then at least my family was also getting protein, and I could, at least on the bad nights, just eat the pasta or grits and not eat the meatballs, right? So it all like helped to kind of keep our house running. And I was so thankful every time I was able to pull out one of those freezer meals and not rely on takeout. It saved us many, many nights. So like probably a solid 10 nights when I just didn't have the energy to make food, and we would otherwise spent what, $70 on takeout. Instead, I had those there. If only I could have also got to the deep cleaning, but again, give yourself grace. That would have been my another thing, because the house is very dirty and I need to spend a lot of time cleaning it. I might do a video on that and some decluttering soon. Well, that's my big tips. Thankfully, it has helped me get through this phase almost without having to go to the toilet. I hope it helps you if you're ever in this phase or helping someone else out that's struggling. And you know, I think my videos will change a little bit. They will obviously focus a little bit on this pregnancy because it's a huge part of my life. I try to pretty much do motherhood and good food, family meals that fit into our lives as busy mothers and how I manage that. So just doing that now with an exciting new twist that hopefully you enjoy too. Take care.